Welcome back, riders. JdbMOTO here. Today was a really good day. I was at Seminole Harley here in Sanford, Florida, and I got to demo out some of the motorcycles that Harley had here in display on their demo truck. I gotta say, they actually had a ton of motorcycles. I was lucky to ride the Sportster S, which, if in my opinion, the way the Sportster S runs is nothing like your typical Harley Davidson motorcycle. That was a very smooth cruising. That transmission is buttery smooth, and the beauty of it is that the Sportster S has the 1250 engine from the Pan America, the Revolution engine, and that it has 94 pounds of torque, 150 horsepower, and the way the power is delivered is like instantly, so you know it feels great. I got to ride as well the Pan America, the 1250. The only changes that they did for 2022, where it has a brighter display, and besides the display, they added the hill assist, and they also went ahead and went with the hill assist went from 3 to 5 seconds all the way up to 3 minutes, which that's going to be great if you're taking the Pan America off-road. And the TFT is going to be a little bit brighter, and they did some changes in color, so very minimal changes to it, so nothing scary about it. Then I was able to test ride the Roadkin. I rode the Fat Boy, and I think that's all I rode. I can't really remember if that's all I did, but I have to say I was really surprised by the Roadkin. Honestly, the Roadkin is one of those motorcycles that I have never even thought about. When I think of Harley Davidson, I always think of the big, either the Electro Glide or the Ultra Limited, CVO. But that Roadkin, that was very smooth. It rode great. Even though it's very basics in terms of information that you're given through, the display, it was great. Yeah, don't be John here. Don't stop in 4th gear, because you won't be able to get off the line quickly. So yeah, so I was very impressed. What I was not impressed about the Fat Boy was, honestly, it rode well. There's nothing about the Fat Boy that I didn't like. The thing that I was really impressed was that it's not ride by wire, so which means you're not gonna be able to select riding modes or to have cruise control. And the Fat Boy comes in at pretty much at $20,000. So if you ask a $20,000 motorcycle that doesn't have cruise control in this day, that is just one of those things that it just makes no sense. And then it's one of those things that you start thinking about, for $20,000, what can I get out there that's going to be comparable? I think Harley Davidson does a great job when it comes to the way they market their brand. If you think about it, there's nothing out there in terms of marketing that compares to Harley Davidson. Harley makes it a complete user experience. You literally get extremely big dealer networks now. Don't ask me about maintenance and customer service, because that's not what I'm here to talk about. But they have huge dealers. They have a massive network nationwide here in the United States, and you get a lot of loyal brand. Most riders that start with a Harley, they continue staying on a Harley pretty much their whole careers, or it's one of those things that you're able to, if your father rode a Harley, then more than likely you're going to ride a Harley. So there's a lot of brand loyalty when it comes to the Harley Davidson brand. Now, if I was to look at the motorcycles that I rode and to think which of these motorcycles will be the one that I will buy, I will probably buy the Roadkin. Honestly, I like the way it looked. That whole black, black handlebars, black wheels, and then with that matte green that they did with the paint job, it's unbelievable, and it honestly rode flawlessly. And it's one of those bikes that honestly, if you're gonna take it on a long distance trip, all you're gonna have to do is just add literally a simple winch, and you're good to go. That has a 5-gallon tank, so you're able to cruise for a very long time, and just keep going. This over here, if you're not familiar, this is going to be Lake Monroe. This is going to be Sanford, Florida. This lake over here, I believe, if I'm correct, it actually feeds into the St. John's River, which goes all the way up to Jacksonville, Florida, where it enters in the ocean. So There's a very big lake here. I mean, you have this lake here, then you have Lake Apopka, which is going to be a little bit bigger than this one. But this one, it's actually in a more like commercial area here in Sanford, Lake Mary area. You have the land, so you know, more people come over here. Then if you go down that way, if you see that big building over there, that's going to be Central Florida Regional. I worked at that hospital when I used to do bedside nursing. That was many years ago. So, but yeah, so yeah, beautiful day here in Central Florida. And then there is Ukraine. I cannot believe that Vladimir Putin is actually gung-ho about taking Ukraine back. Many people don't really understand, but you got to think about where Putin comes from. He comes from the time, he started life, you know, he was with the KGB. He saw the Soviet Union collapse as we know it. And most of those countries, you know, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, all of them, those were all countries that were part of the USSR before, you know, the Soviet Union collapsing back in the early 90s. So he wants to bring basically pride. He wants everybody to recognize Russia as being the big power that they are. Now you also have Ukraine. Ukraine had basically a Russian-backed government. The government was overthrown. The new government that you have in place is not Russian-backed. They're looking to get away from Russia. They want to make, you know, they want to make allegiance. They want to make, you know, relations with the West, you know, Western Europe, you know, with the United States and other countries. And Russia's not, you know, Russia's not having it. They are determined to make sure that they stay, you know, loyal to them. They don't want to have NATO right there on their border. So that's, you know, that's what's at stake here. And now, and if you go back in history, one of the treaties that they did with, you know, with Ukraine was, as part of their independence agreement, was if you give us all your nuclear weapons, we're never going to attack you. We're never going to go, you know, back into Ukraine. And look what they just did. They literally just went back into Ukraine, and you know, they're trying to attack him now. Well, not that they're trying. They have invaded Ukraine. But what I think that Russia was not expecting was that they were hoping that Ukraine was just going to go ahead and lay down and just basically let Russia go in. According to the Russian government, you know, Russians were being attacked, you know, hate speech and all that, you know, in Eastern Russia, which is going to be mostly Russians. That's going to be closest to the Russian border. So once you go in, you know, they're not advancing as quickly as they hope. Ukrainians are not giving up. They want to remain independent. They don't want to be a puppet of Russia. So that's what's making it difficult for the Russian government at this point in time to basically, you know, continue with what they're doing. And if you notice, the Russian military is so much bigger than the one that you have in Ukraine. So since they have compulsive military, you have to serve 1 year between the ages of 18 and 27, and that's going to be mandatory. So they have that, you know, they're thinking big military, we have nuclear weapons, nobody's going to do anything to us, and we're going to be able to get away with it, which is not happening. You see the whole world, the whole condemnation between, you know, all Europe, even China calling on Putin to go ahead and just, you know, go to the, you know, negotiating table and basically just, you know, let's go ahead and end this. What concerns me is long term is going to be, you know, the well-being of all those Ukrainians that are basically now having to go back and fix their lives, fix their livelihood because of some selfish SOB and his, you know, what he wants for Russia. He's not thinking of anybody else. He's not thinking or looking that literally in Russia, nobody's backing him up. If you see all the protests, I mean, nationwide, I mean, nobody wants this war. Nobody thinks it's a good idea, but he's just been selfish. He wants to do what he wants to do. He wants to show the world that Russia is, you know, they're still relevant and that they have to listen to him, which is not happening. So I think what's going to happen for Russia as well, the economy, you know, as we know it, you know, it's going to start to slowly erode. They don't have a very strong economy. Actually, their economy has been contracting for the last, you know, number of years. So this is only going to make things worse. You know, it's going to make a weakened economy. You're going to have, you know, those young adults, you know, those people that are going to retire up in Russia, that they, you know, your whole thing is collapsing. If you saw that the first day of the invasion, I mean, the Russian, you know, back ETF literally just dropped. I believe it was like 30 or 40%. So I mean, you're talking about a massive collapse in capital, and you know it's only going to get worse, especially if especially if Russia doesn't move back and just go back into Ukraine. So let's see what's going to happen. I mean, I honestly hope that this is able to squash. I strongly believe if Putin decides to, as he has been flaunting regarding his nuclear armament, that's only going to make matters worse. I mean, hopefully not, but I wouldn't put it past him to go ahead and try to use his nuclear weapons, just because he wants to make sure that he's he's serious about it. He's not he's not here playing games. He wants to make sure that he shows everybody that he means what he's saying. He wants basically a Russian-backed Ukraine government. So I don't know, let's see. Very scary for sure, very intimidating, and very sad for all those kids, all those families that are now having to live through war for no reason, just because of somebody's selfish motive. So I have a trip that my brother and I planned coming up now. We have a plan for the end of March, so I'm hoping that my brother and I are able to make that trip with no issues. So we're going to be going back to the mountains. So this time we're going to be staying around Marble, Andrews area, and our goal is we're going to ride up on Thursday, and we want to hit Tail of the Dragon early on Friday morning, just to be able to get a clean run, hopefully maybe a couple of runs up and down. If you haven't been to the Tail of the Dragon, the traffic over there is not bad if you go early morning. My brother and I, we did that not last year, actually no, 2 years ago. We actually went up to the mountains and we did a early morning ride, no traffic whatsoever, maybe a couple of motorcycles here and there. I went last year around October, and it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and the traffic, guys, it was unbelievable. Like, I mean, you're literally going bumper to bumper, and we were fortunate enough that there was a freaking RV, so we literally, it was like 20-25 miles the whole way. And then the worst part was the RV wouldn't pull over, so we were literally just just dogging it the whole way to the Deals Gap, Killboy area. So I'm really looking forward to that. My brother and I haven't done a long distance trip like this in about 2 years, since he's in the Coast Guard, and he's on 2 months on ocean duty, and then he comes back in land. So he's actually getting back now sometime in early March. So that's why we planned this ahead of time. That way we were able to go ahead and make the trip happen. So alright guys, well, if you enjoyed this content, just give it a thumbs up. That way the algorithm knows it's good, and I will see you guys on my next video.